Once a month, my husband's parents come to stay at our house. I want to invite my parents over too.
No way.
So, his parents are okay, but mine aren't? How selfish can you get? This is my house too. Fed up, I decided to get back at my husband in my own way. My name is Karen, 30 years old. I married Joe 5 years ago. We have a daughter, Rachel, almost 3 years old. We brought and moved into our dream house 6 months ago. Things were going smoothly for our family of 3, but
My parents are coming over again from tomorrow.
what? Again? They were here last month. That's 5 months in a row. I complained, but he just shrugged it off.
So what? We have a guest room. It's no problem.
That might be true, but do I have to do all the preparations again?
Huh? Of course. You work from home. You're practically a full-time homemaker.
A full-time homemaker? Ever since we moved, my in-laws have been staying with us once a month. I wasn't happy about it. Initially, it was my husband's idea to show off our new home to his parents. I didn't mind at first, but it became a regular thing. They'd stay for at least a week, sometimes almost half a month. The hardest part was the meals. To me, my in-laws were like any other guests. I'd clean the house the day before and fret over the menu. When I asked my husband for suggestions, he'd just say,
Anything's fine.
Especially my mother-in-law, she's picky and often leaves food uneaten. If they didn't like the meal, Joe would blame me. It wasn't just about meals. I had to prepare the beds too. I'd only find out about their visit a couple of days in advance. This had been going on for half a year, and I was at my limit. The next day, as usual, my in-laws arrived. Hello, Ben and Pam.
Thanks for having us again.
Is our room ready, Karen? Yes, it's all set up. The usual room.
Well, I'm tired. I'll take a nap.
Then I'll watch some TV. They did as they pleased upon arrival, making it uncomfortable for me. I felt uneasy even in my own home, so I decided to pick up Rachel a bit early. After preparing dinner, I was about to leave when Pam, who had been watching TV, walked into the kitchen. Karen, you're not making stew for dinner, are you? Yes, I am. What? You're hopeless. I hate stew. Really? When I asked about foods you dislike, you didn't mention stew. That was years ago. I just didn't think of it then. You're really inconsiderate. She made a disgusted face and told me to remake dinner before lying back on the sofa. What's with her? She could have told me earlier. Why does she have to tell me right before it's done? It's such a hassle to cook a separate meal now. But if I don't do as she says, she'll complain to my husband. And then I'll hear it from him. Reluctantly, I went to the supermarket on my way to pick up Rachel, buying ingredients for a special soup just for Pam. Even when Rachel came home, my in-laws didn't fuss over her. They'd snap, "Get out of the way!" Or,
Don't bother us.
"Grandpa, Grandma, read this to me."
Grandpa's busy right now.
"Grandma's busy too. Go over there." They clearly weren't fond of their granddaughter. They pretended not to notice her, even when she went to them with some books. She gave up trying to interact with them and came to me instead. Mommy, Grandpa and Grandma are scary. Sorry, Rachel. Just hang in there a little longer. And this was just the first day. And this was going to continue for another 2 weeks. I can't take it anymore. Even Rachel is upset. If this keeps up, I'll lose my mind. After my husband came home, I finally let out all my frustrations to him. Joe, could we maybe have your parents stay over just once every 6 months or so?
Huh? Why?
Once a month is just too often. I'm the one who has to do all the cooking and prepare for their stay. On top of my job and taking care of Rachel, it's just too much. She's even scared of your parents. I'm at my limit. He made a clearly displeased face and said dismissively,
Is that all?
Is that all? Do you have any idea how hard this is? I have to take care of Rachel too.
You cook every day. Just make a little extra. And you can take care of Rachel. My parents are tired, you know.
What's that supposed to mean? I'm telling you, it's tough dealing with your mom's pickiness. If you think it's so easy, why don't you do all the housework and childcare?
Huh? Why should I? I'm the one who works outside the home. Isn't that a wife's job?
What?
Anyway, my parents look forward to seeing me, so you just need to host them. Rachel will understand. Eventually.
He nonchalantly said this and went back to his room. Left alone, I barely contained my anger. What was that all about? Why do I have to do everything when his parents stay over? And he acts like it's all my responsibility, not a maid or a servant. Still irritated, I started preparing breakfast for the next day. Then, my mother called. Hello? Mom, what's up?
Karen, is this a good time?
She sounded hurried over the phone. A favor? What happened?
Actually, our house is leaking and it's going to need major repairs. Could we stay with you for just 3 days?
A leak? That's terrible. Sure, you can stay with us for 3 days.
Really? Thank you. You're a lifesaver.
After hanging up, I went to Joe's room to tell him the news. Joe, can I talk to you?
What do you want?
My parents are going to stay with us from tomorrow. He looked up from his phone, startled.
What? Stay over from tomorrow?
The house is leaking and needs extensive repairs. They just need to stay for 3 days. I thought it would be fine, since he always has his parents stay for a week. Then, he says something unbelievable.
Come on, give me a break. It's awkward and cramped. I don't like it.
What? What did he just say? Awkward and cramped? The nerve! I've been putting up with this all along. Struggling to find words amid my shock, I managed to reply. Hold on a second. It's okay for your parents to stay, but not mine?
You don't need to be formal with my parents. But your parents are too formal for my liking.
It's not that my parents are formal. It's that his parents are too lax. Lounging on the sofa all day, watching TV, complaining about the food, that's not normal. Does he not get that? Despite my growing anger, he added fuel to the fire.
Anyway, there's no way I can do 3 days. Find them another place to stay.
At that moment, my simmering anger exploded. I tried to remain calm as I spoke. Okay, fine. Then we'll do that. From tomorrow, Rachel and I will also stay somewhere else with my parents.
Say what?
He looked shocked and asked,
You're joking, right?
Joking? You're the one who said to find somewhere else for them to stay.
I just meant for your parents, not for you and Rachel too.
Don't make excuses. Just so you know, we won't be coming back for 3 days. You'll need to take care of your own meals, baths, and laundry.
What? You're kidding.
Ignoring my desperately pleading husband, I packed our bags. The next day, I explained everything to my parents and booked rooms for 4 people in a business hotel. During that time, Joe sent me several texts.
I tried heating up a microwave stew and it exploded. What should I do? I turned on the oven, but the meat isn't cooking. Please, come back just to cook.
Honestly, I was appalled that he could manage for even 1 day. He could have just eaten convenience store food, but he was already trying to prove a point. It was almost funny in a way. Of course, I didn't reply to his texts. He should reflect and figure it out himself. 3 days later, after seeing my parents off, I returned home with Rachel. I thought I might forgive him, depending on his attitude. As I entered the house saying, "I'm back," Joe rushed out from the back of the house, red-faced and yelling.
Why didn't you reply to any of my texts? You knew I was struggling, right?
Panting heavily, he demanded.
Answer me. You knew, didn't you?
I knew, I responded defiantly. But I told you, while I was gone, you'd have to handle everything yourself.
Quiet. You're my wife. It's your duty to take care of the house.
He was yelling, even in front of our daughter. Seeing him like that made everything seem so absurd. Rachel seemed a bit disgusted with him too. Can't you stop? Especially in front of Rachel. This whole thing started because you wouldn't even let my parents stay for 3 days.
What? Why is it my fault? I just didn't want your parents to stay. I never told you to leave. You left on your own. I'm going to tell my mom about this.
He stormed out of the room, still furious. I couldn't stay with him any longer. I decided to move back to my parents' house for a while. The next day, after Joe left for work, I went back to my parents' house with Rachel. I left her with them and went to the city hall to get divorce papers. If Joe wasn't willing to apologize, I was seriously considering divorce. He finally realized we were gone and called me at night.
Hello, where are you?
I calmly replied, at my parents' house. He got even angrier.
Your parents' house? What are you doing? What about my dinner?
Sorry, but you'll have to make it yourself. Aren't you going to apologize to me for anything?
Apologize for what? I have nothing to apologize for. If anything, I have complaints.
I thought maybe he'd reflect and apologize. But my faint hope was shattered. So you have no intention of apologizing?
Of course not. And my parents are angry at you. They're coming to lecture you tomorrow.
Lecture me?
You're not taking care of me. A woman should take care of her family. You don't get it, so they'll teach you.
Laughing, he said,
It's your fault.
I told him straight out. Fine. Let's get a divorce.
What? Divorce? You're joking, right?
He let out a pitiful voice and he sounded flustered, even over the phone. I'm not joking. We can't understand each other. That's why I want a divorce.
Don't be ridiculous. How did it come to this? It's all because you upset me.
Why should I have to appease a grown man? We're supposed to be partners. I'm done being a maid to you and your parents.
Wait, divorce isn't the answer, Karen.
He was panicking, not expecting me to suggest divorce. I've never heard him so flustered.
I won't allow a divorce. If we divorce, I'll get the house.
Fine, take it. You're paying for it, and now you can live there with your beloved parents.
What?
Goodbye.
No, wait, Karen.
I hung up and ignored all his subsequent contacts. I contacted a lawyer to prepare for the divorce. Rachel has seen enough of how they treated me. I'd also been telling my parents everything. All this made the divorce mediation heavily in my favor.
If it goes to court, you will be at a significant disadvantage.
Having been told this, Joe finally signed the divorce papers after a month of reluctance. Rachel refused to live with him, so we stayed with my parents. I demanded property division, child support, and compensation for emotional distress. The lawyer got us a good deal. Joe struggled to pay as he doesn't really earn much, and eventually had to sell our newly built house.
Karen, I was wrong. Please come back. I promise I won't let my parents come over again. I can't imagine living without you and Rachel.
He still sends creepy texts, but I ignore them. I plan to block him once all payments are settled. Rachel seems fine, but I sometimes feel guilty about taking her father away. Do you miss Daddy, Rachel? Not at all. I don't like anyone who's mean to Mommy. Thanks, Rachel. As long as I have you, Mommy, I'm happy. Fortunately, she tells me things like that. I'm sure I made the right choice. I'll lean on my supportive parents a little longer. Now, I want to live a happy life with my daughter.